Thank you.
All right, welcome to Truth Stream. We're here with Ismael Perez and Joe Rosati. And
this is Scott Stone.
Well, thank you, Joe. We've got a lot of interesting topics to discuss. And with that, Ismael, do you want to open up?
Sure. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I am Ismael Perez, the author of Our Cosmic Origin, a book that completely shatters everything we've ever been taught about our history, about God, spirituality, philosophy. It is a book that actually reveals the truth about our galactic heritage, our origin, the many world connection, the fact that our origin here wasn't unique to the Earth, but that we are part of a cosmic ancestry that started off at the highest level of reality. And through this process that I reveal in my book called Involution, which is the descent of spirit into matter, we gradually began to explore the different realms as we became denser and denser. So in that book, it's a trigger, it's an activator tool, as well as a restoration of advanced higher knowledge in preparation for the ascension of planet Earth. I also consider myself a cosmic ambassador. I am part of an intergalactic alliance composed of many races that are serving a covenant that has a lot to do with the establishment and restoring the office of the Christ, which is the office of everlasting life and light. It is known as the Covenant of Palador, and I am one of the 13 members within that covenant.
Well, I know that there's a lot of people that are familiar with your work, and then there's many that are learning about you every day. And I was just, I saw you first on Nicholas Vignamen's show, and I've been an assistant for him for the last year and a half, helping him procure guests such as Gene Decode and Gene Ho and Megan Rose. And so a lot of this stuff is new to me. And my buddy Scott has been pretty aware of a lot of this. So if you could, we'll start kind of at level one first, and then we're going to go on a trajectory through this podcast. So if you could let people that may not be familiar with what's going on in the world, let's say, you just, sorry, there's a little car going by there. But if someone's not familiar with what's going on in the world, and we're going through the Great Awakening, what's a good place to start for someone that is at least questioning things, but to let them know what it is that we're really going through?
We're going through a change that was actually prophesied in all the ancient records. We're going through the greatest transformation in the history of humanity, something that our ancestors have been excited about, and something that is unfolding as I speak. So that explains why everything is crazy right now in the world. It seems like things are deteriorating at the external level of reality, but that's a fact, because what's happening is that everything that exists is held together through frequency and vibration. So when the frequency and vibration changes, so does the matter. So the matter that we perceive is only emergent because of this vibrational frequency. So right now, what's happening is the entire current humanity, and actually the entire solar system, is going to a shift from one level of reality to another by shifting dimensions, by shifting frequencies. So what's going to be happening any day soon is that matter as we know it here on this planet will be changing to the next stage of evolution. And so great things are upon us. We're actually living in the best times ever in the history of the Earth. More so because we're also ending many cycles. We're ending a 2,160-year cycle, which is from one house to the zodiac to the next. We're ending 12 of those, which marks a 26,000-year cycle known as the Platonic year, as our solar system revolves around its parent sun. And then we're also ending a greater galactic 226 million year cycle that has a lot to do with the revolution of our star Alcyone and Sirius B, which are part of the same swirling arm of the galaxy revolving around the galactic core. So we're ending 4 major cycles, and that's why things are happening the way they are. It is the disintegration and dismantling of the old reality, and the development and anchoring and establishment of a new reality. So we're in the cusp. We're in the cusp of these, of the greatest shift that nobody has ever known before in the history of this world.
Pretty exciting.
Well, yeah, Scott and I are going to be going back and forth. So please, you want to take this somewhere?
Well, yeah. Well, I think it started hitting me pretty hard in 2012. I don't know. That may be common for you. I know a lot of folks that I've talked to. 2012 was kind of a big year. Most of those folks had a kind of an interesting life, a lot of interesting occurrences that they couldn't really describe in polite company with any understanding up until then. But boy, have things just accelerated. I mean, the world's on fire right now. It's insane, and it blows my mind when I see people just living their ordinary lives with, they're scratching their head a little bit, but they have no idea what's going on. And this is the most monumental thing that's ever happened in human history. And we got front row seats. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
But not only do we have front row seats, but we're going to be the pioneers of a whole new breed, a whole new race that is about to emerge as our dormant DNA becomes activated. We're going through something colossal. It's beyond just the Earth. It involves the entire galaxy and the entire universe.
So what are some of the things that people can expect? Because I know that, as these events unfold and someone's not aware of what's going on, they might, see a video like this and then know what to look for. So what can people expect as our dormant DNA becomes active?
Well, expect enhancing your intuition, your ability to read others. Psychic abilities are about to come online for many who have not had those. And for those that do have psychic abilities, they're just going to become more enhanced. So, that's part of our pituitary and pineal glands that are once again activating, which turns on about 96% of our brain power. So unfortunately, due to being genetically unplugged after the fall of Atlantis, when they disconnected 10 strands of our DNA, we were only using 4% of our full brain power, and as a result of that. So now it's like all that stuff is reversing, you could say. So expect to have increased clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentiency, among other things. We are all heading into a world where we are going to be telepathic. Some of us are going to have telekinesis, and then some of us are going to have other spiritual gifts. But it's going to change, and it's going to happen very, very soon. And I would suggest that for those that are not awakened, to really do your research and find out for yourself what everyone else is telling you about, because it's almost like, how can I say it? Like all this is supposed to happen. If you study the prophecies, it was all written way, almost actually hundreds of thousands of years before we got to this point. So I just wanted to say that, this is the time to really, really get your stuff together, and even if you're in the awakened community, this is a time to really just live accordingly. Live accordingly to the best of your ability and that balance and your power. Because we're going from a type of world where an elite used to control us to a world where every individual is going to be sovereign unto themselves. Not in the sense of an anarchy, but in the sense of pure, egalitarian equality, freedom. And that's where we're heading.
Because there's literally a battle of between good and evil that's been going on. And maybe you can expand a little bit more on that. And another question I had is, the Bible that most people are familiar with. I've heard that there were at one point, I think 777 books, and now that's been down to 66. Is that correct? And can you expand on that? And what is it that we haven't? I mean, I know there's a lot, but certain things that we haven't been taught that are monumental.
All right. So to answer the first question, this war against evil is part of the duality that we have all experienced for the last billions of years. It all began when the one split into two, which is a necessary procedure in order for the one to expand at the highest levels of reality. And that explains why evil is always going to be on the losing side. So the greatest evil that we have been combating, not only as a human race here on planet Earth, but in terms of, the greater galactic and cosmic community, is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is at the root of all Luciferianism. Um, in even the Draco, the extraterrestrials that have been in control of the Cabal, for millenniums, are also under the control of AI. So that's the great evil we've been fighting. The ultimate Luciferianism is that wants to eradicate all biological life forms and then just keeps them enough to use those as battery resources to power up their own, artificial time loop AI matrix, whatever you want to call it. Most call it the Phantom Matrix. So that's what we're fighting. We're fighting artificial intelligence. And of course, they deleted a lot of the books in the Bible. And you know why? Because in those first books, hundreds of books, similar to the books of Enoch, they talked about the real Nephilim, the giants that were on the earth, which are the extraterrestrials. When you read about the giants and the Elohim, which is plural, you're reading about the Nibirians from planet Nibiru. Those were the gods of the Bible. And for many religious people, they're going to have that difficulty to digest when the truth is revealed that the gods that they've been worshiping have been the Anunnaki. And so, yeah, this is serious. Those books that they left out, not only did they keep it within the vaults of the Vatican for, almost 2,000 years, which have recently been recovered by the White Hats, thank God, among other manuscripts. But a lot of the original books were actually destroyed when they burned down the Library of Alexandria in Egypt. And that's the library that held a lot of the original manuscripts, the Coptic texts, the original Ethiopian texts. These were the original records. No one today has access to the original records. We could only, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? We could only assume what they revealed. But the truth is that a lot of those records also talked about reincarnation. They also talked about ascension, which is the integration of spirit into matter, which is something that I go in great detail in my book. For those that haven't read Our Cosmic Origin, it is a must read. It's a book that definitely, even if you're somewhat awakened, it is a book that it will definitely take you to the next level of awakening. I guess I might as well start calling it the red pill when you read that book, but taking the red pill. So, everything we know, all history, including within the realms of science, the established academia, it's all been controlled by the elites, by the powers that were, for not centuries, but for thousands of years. But their time is up, and that's another beautiful reason why we're living in the best times ever, is because due to this transition of ages, these guys only had limited power on the earth. They only had, from the fall of Atlantis when they infiltrated to now, which gave them approximately about 10,000 years, and they failed. And now that they're being all wounded up by the good guys in the Earth Alliance, they have nowhere to go. And even their Draco overlords have nowhere to go. They're in hiding. But we know what's going to happen to them when the solar flash takes place. They're all going to be toasted. So, everything's going to come back. Everything is going to be restored. The original, records, the real history of the earth. In the scientific community, as I speak, there's a huge revolution from a one universe to a multiverse with many dimensions, where quantum science, quantum physics becomes the new, Newtonian mechanics. Because there's been a huge suppression within the realm of the scientific community. Everything that the quantum physicists have discovered through the different fields of quantum mechanics, right? Superstring theory, M theory, all that stuff is actually telling us, that we are part of a multi-dimensional structure and that there's multiple universes. And most importantly, through those avenues of study, we're also finding out that we could exist here in this dimension, which only occupies a portion of our consciousness, with this avatar, while at the same time simultaneously existing in other dimensions with other portions of our consciousness, occupying different avatars all at the same time.
I'm wrapping
That yeah. And that explains the nature of our multidimensionality.
for sure. For sure. Well, I've been struggling with, linear time is sort of a big part of the simulation, and time doesn't really work that way. But yet, from a 3D perspective, it's really hard to wrap your head around nonlinear time. And I've had a few experiences that have just been like a crash course in that very thing. But I don't know. It really makes me wonder when aspects of my consciousness could be operating a body just like I'm operating here in other dimensions, completely autonomous, but very connected. That's a maybe you can explain that a little bit more. I'm certainly still wrapping my head around it.
Sure. So according to the quantum study of superposition, and the non-local mind, we're actually existing everywhere. We're just not here. We're everywhere and we're everyone at the same time. I know this sounds hard to digest, folks, but this is the true nature of our reality. And this is how we are all one, different aspects of the one, different expressions of one universal cosmic intelligence that divides itself into infinite possibilities. Okay, so according to this new field of study, the different aspects of ourselves are still coexisting simultaneously in these other dimensions and in these other universes. So in each and every single universe, you're a slightly different person than you are in this one. And every universe has a slightly different person than that one. It's almost like every infinite probability and possibility exists. And that explains the multiverse. So in these other levels of reality or these other dimensions or parallel Earths, you have these superpowers. You have these, you're perhaps an immortal, maybe in, your fifth dimensional state of reality, as you are operating a mothership. By the way, a lot of the star seeds down here that are boots in the ground are also existing up there, operating ships or commanders where, we've been involved in this galactic wars. But now we're also coexisting here on the Earth because we're bringing this Earth into the balance, into the galactic community. So as we exist in these other dimensions, when we learn how to connect with those aspects of ourselves, all that begins to happen is we begin remembering those abilities. We begin remembering those gifts that we have, those powers. And also our body begins to change. And that's the true meaning of multidimensional integration, which I believe it's going to happen at the solar flash when the ascension takes place. All those different levels of reality are going to collapse. They're going to converge into one solid here and now. And that's what's going to make us, superhuman.
I'm going to put Lily inside. My dog is over here and it's like 94 degrees. She's panting. Come on, kid. Excuse me for just a second.
So while he does that, I know that there's a few things going on that might need some clarification that you wanted to address. So please feel free to touch base with those.
Okay, so before I express that, let me just leave this with a final thought regarding what we were talking about.
Please.
So, according to the new science, our mind isn't in this body. It isn't in this skull. Our mind is a field. It is a field that is everywhere in the entire cosmos, and it's everywhere at once. So that also validates the idea that we are everywhere and that we are everyone. There's a movie that just came out recently. I think it's called Everywhere and Everyone.
Yes.
It's a typical Chinese family. It's a typical Chinese family. And the husband of this Chinese lady pops from an alternative universe where she has these abilities, right? With, martial arts, superpowers and stuff like that. And he tells her, hey, listen, the multiverse, the multiverse is at stake. It's under threat. We need you, and that movie is telling us the truth about how we really exist as multidimensional beings. So I haven't seen it yet. I've seen the previews. I really want to watch it. Another movie that gives more confirmation on our multidimensional existence and how there's different versions of ourselves that exist in parallel universes that occupy another percentage of our consciousness, is the movie Doctor Strange. There we go. Both of them talk about sorry about that. My dog just came to the scene as you were putting your dog away. My dog just came to the living room. So don't mind the her collar. She's got like her tag and everything, and when she walks, you hear her collar move up and down.
No worries.
Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to also end that with regarding
Doctor Strange is when is that film from?
I think it's put together by Marvel.
Yeah, it's the last couple of years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Floki, also a Marvel product, I think was kind of interesting. I think it's Floki, the Norse god of mischief. That whole story, there was a series, and it was really interesting how they went through how he, how he found himself in different moments in time. Like he was sort of sussing out this experience, in ways that are probably familiar to us. But
that sounds accurate too.
Yeah. Oh, very. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, watch it. You'll get a real kick out of it, I think.
For sure.
It's funny how they drop this stuff right at our feet.
Right.
Oh, we did? Well, that's good. See, I'm glad that they're making movies like this. Now, these are the movies that we're going to be creating in the new Earth, in the fifth dimensional reality. You see, a lot of people ask me, are we still going to have the music industry? Are we still going to have acting and draw? And I'm like, yes, but it's all going to be based on spiritual evolution. It's not going to be negative stuff, fear mongering. It's all going to be for purposes of spiritual education. And that's what the new industry is going to be. People are still going to play piano. People are still going to have a gift of the voice. People are still going to play music with instruments. It's just going to be different. It's going to be so much better. Okay, so I would like to address a statement that I said about a few weeks ago regarding Elena Denon. Now, I'm just going to correct myself. It's not that her body is dead. Her body is still her body. It's just that her soul was replaced by something else. She has been taken over by a dark entity by the name of Enki. Enki is actually Lucifer in the Bible. Enki is what we call the Draco Anunnaki, that comes from the royal blood of Draco star system in the Thuban area of Orion. His mother is the dragon queen known as Dramin. Dramin has been the ruler of the Draco Orion Empire, by the way. And so Enki has been doing work for her in secret. So everything we know about Enki has been switched. So even the Sumerian tablets, not to mention Zachariah Sitchin he was aligned with the elites. He was very Cabal. Most people are starting to figure that out now. But, everything we know about Enki has been twisted because of the fact that those records were tampered with. He's actually been at the head of the Cabal. And through his son Marduk, Belial Baal, that's who's been pretty much controlling the situation here on the earth in regards to the dark forces, while Enki himself has been trying to create a galactic empire within our vicinity of the stars, trying to bring other worlds under his power. So to the galactics, he's known as the cosmic vampire. And he actually he broke the cosmic code. He violated the cosmic codex. He was told that he was not allowed to go to the outskirts of our universe because that's where the AI was doing its thing. They call it restricted area to the galactics. Enki took it upon himself to go see what that was all about. And when he got there, that's when the nanites possessed him, and that's when they took him from within, and he went from being biological to cybernetic. So now that he has returned, he is a cyborg. He is a machine. He's no longer the Enki we used to know, despite of the fact that he was always aligned with the Draco agenda. Okay, so that's the entity that is taken over her.
Was it Enlil that was more of an advocate for humanity?
Unfortunately, what we know about Enlil, unfortunately, through the translations of the Sumerian tablets, by Zachariah Sitchin, again, an agent of the Cabal, is that he caused the flood in an effort to try to destroy the human experiment, that he wasn't, pleased with us reproducing, but that was all fabricated. Do you know who Enlil was? Okay, let's go over some of the different texts that also depict him. According to the Greeks, he was actually Zeus. Yeah, he was guardian of the earth.
Well, he played a lot of roles, didn't he?
He did, yeah. The Iberian Anunnakis had different names to the different cultures. So Enki was Poseidon to the Greeks, Enlil was Zeus. And that explains why, Enki was able to take Africa and the seas, and then Enlil was given the whole region of the Middle East, Mediterranean, peninsula, what we call today, or what we call then Mesopotamia. All that region was given to Enlil. During the time where Enlil held the title of the Anunnaki of the 50, which means he was Earth Lord, that was exactly around the time that there was peace on the earth. It was a golden age because he protected the humans from, weird, monstrous creatures that would just arise due to, uncontrolled genetic experiment that was being conducted by Enki and his Anunnakis. He also, and through his children, were able to secure and preserve the human race from other worldly entities. So like when we watch the movie Thor, all that stuff is real. In a way, Zeus and the family of the Olympians were the ones that were guardians of the earth during those days. So every time an extraterrestrial threat would come to the earth, just like in the DC movie, right? When, not Doomsday, what's his name? Darkseid, when he came, all the heroes of the old got together with the Atlanteans, the Amazonians, and even the gods put their differences aside to what? To save planet Earth. All that stuff is real, guys. So Zeus was Enlil. So it wasn't until Marduk overthrew the title of the 50 when he used a cloned army that he brewed in the deserted planet Mars during the Atlantean fiasco about 15,000 years ago, right before he destroyed Atlantis. He was brewing a Martian army. It took him about a few thousand years, but at the end of that, he was able to use that to depose his grandfather Anu as the Nibirian commander. And then, of course, Enlil, Zeus, was needed in a different part of the galaxy in order to, bring peace and balance there due to some of the wars that broke out with the Draco in different parts of the galaxy. And then that's when Enki, also did his thing, and he left the scene, and he left his son Marduk, Belial-Bal, the Babylonian god in charge of the earth. And ever since then, he's been at the head of the Vatican. Marduk's been, the main Draco that all the elites have been sacrificing their children for. Well, him and his cousin Molech. Molech is another Draco. Again, what we call in scriptures fallen angels or demonic forces are the Draco. The Draco in the Bible are the demons. The angels in the Bible are the Pleiades, the Lyrians, the Syrians, the Andromedans, the Arcturians. Mainly the Pleiadians, because it was during that time it was the Nibirian Pleiadians that were involved with the third Earth grand seeding. But now we're part of the fourth, by the way.
Well, we all started out on Lyra, right?
We all started in Lyra, yeah. About 600
I
million.
got really confused when they were telling me I'm Lyran and then Palladian and Arcturian. I'm like, well, it can't be all of those things. It took me a while to wrap my head around.
You could.
Yeah, I guess it does make sense. Yeah.
So that's how, I was informed exactly a month ago from the Galactics that Elena Denon is a Trojan horse, that now she's been, taken from within. It's still her body, but it's no longer her soul. She's being used by Enki. Enki is the one who's overshadowing her. And she is being used to kind of sidetrack the disclosure movement. And from what I understand, even Corey Good is aware of that. And I believe that he's going to be exposing her very, very soon, because he's talked about how there's been some sort of rift in the disclosure community. He's going to drop a huge intel pretty soon, I think the next week or two, that will reveal what's going on within the disclosure community, who are the infiltrators, the Trojan horses, and, how to be warned of them so that we don't fall into that trap. You guys know who Corey Good is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's also very legit. He's also the real deal. Yeah.
Awesome.
And so is Megan Rose. Megan Rose is also the real.
I love Megan.
She's just a doll. Yeah, she really.
Yeah.
She actually has her own ship. She actually has her own ship as well.
That makes sense.
It's like we do.
I sent Joe a video that I just loved so much, because she's just such a pleasure to watch. No matter what kind of mood I'm in a better mood every time I see her. But she got into an argument with Velnik and had to stop the recording. It out.
No way, really?
Oh God, it was adorable. Yeah, pretty.
Well, Velnik is really involved with the Earth Alliance. He's working hand in hand with Thor, Valiant Thor, or another Venetian representative of the Federation. So the Venetians are at the forefront. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the white hats are actually Venetians that look humanoid, But yeah, we have a lot of Venetians right now that are assisting us.
Well, Nikola Tesla was reportedly Venetian. Yeah.
That's true.
So
Can you explain to people who may not be familiar with it, but how when you get your downloads, how is it you primarily get the information that you've gotten?
They come to me like data dumps. It's different than when I'm thinking about something, because I get a tingling. I get a tingling in my body. My ears start ringing, and that's when I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to get a data dump. So if I'm driving, what I do is I just try to relax. I take a few breathers while I'm still paying attention to the road. If I'm at home, I sit and I just kind of await for this data dump. And but yeah, those are the physical symptoms that I feel: ringing, buzzing in the ear, weird tingling going through my body, and then just a stream of information comes through. And that's how I was able to write my book, and then of course I did the research to back it up.
Wow.
That's the feeling. Yeah.
I think you're getting more cohesive information than I'm getting. Usually they're laughing at me because I'm still stuck in this whole linear time paradigm. From that was kind of what really accelerated the communication that I've had is, I would ask about dates and time, and I would hear laughter. And they just laugh at me. And finally, I put it together like, oh, yeah, they're outside of linear time. These are ridiculous questions. I need to stop doing that. I did.
Do you know why they laugh at you when you try to get an answer to like time frames in the particular date or time? Because from their perspective, there is no time. It's all
right.
The solar flash already took place.
It took me a minute to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the laughter really was the way I figured it out. They got a hell of a sense of humor, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, learning from you has helped me understand my buddy a little bit more, because I'm kind of new to all this, and I'm just like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, it's not something you want to talk about. Joe's a real trusted friend. I'm saying this now on the entire internet, but I don't really generally speak about this sort of thing. But I figure, in present company, when has there ever been a more appropriate time to have this conversation?
Well, I had some questions that a gal had left. I believe, yeah, her name is Christine K. She left on one of Nicholas's on the comments, and I'll read them, and hopefully they're easy to answer. The first one is: so many say this reality is an illusion or even just a game, but how can that be if these times are so cosmically important? Does that resonate with you?
Yes. So it's true. The spiritual masters of the East have always known that, as well as the Western mystics. They've always known that this was some sort of a fabricated reality, that it wasn't the original reality. And I believe that even Plato did an analogy to compare the difference. He used the allegory of the shadows in the caves. When they took a group of people, and from birth they were forced to live in a cave, and all they saw as they matured was the shadows. And one day, one guy decided to explore beyond the cave. So he decided to climb out of the cave, and then he looked out of the hole and he saw trees and he saw grass and he saw a whole new different world. And it was hard for him to digest that, because his reality has always been shadows, right? The reflection of them that was casted. So that's an analogy to describe that we are actually living like those people in the cave, that the true reality is different. It is eternal. We're also experiencing mortality. And one of the things that I talk about in my book is that by nature, we are already immortal, because we are spirit light beings. So our origin is infinite. We are all part of Prime Creator Source. So to answer the question, yes, this is what the Easterns call Maya, which is an illusion. This is what, through science and through movies, we can now identify this as a form of a matrix. But bear in mind that also every dimension is a simulation. But as we go up in dimensions, the simulations become less denser and more better, to the point where the polarity is not as extreme. And the reason the simulations are being used is that so that we could, it's almost like a school ground for us souls. When we come from Creator Source, allows us to explore these different levels of reality with different avatars at different rates of consciousness or different levels of consciousness, because that's how we grow. That's how we grow. So each dimension as we go higher becomes better and better. The only thing that is pure base reality are the realms of eternity. Other than that, everything is just an emanation from that pure consciousness that has always existed.
Generally, when I'm asked a similar question, I talk about perception. We're so limited. We can only see so many frequencies. We can only hear so many frequencies. There's birds and creatures all around us, our dogs, our pets. They see so much more. They feel so much more in so many ways. And really, I think that, as illusory as our world is, that shouldn't necessarily be such a foreign concept, because the illusion is based on the limitations of our perception. And that is what's ever changing. I think this whole dimensional jump has everything to do with a shift in perception, where we see
Absolutely.
and sense so much more around us.
Well, ever since we were all unplugged during the times of Atlantis, we've been limited to just a small range of the full light energy spectrum. So we've been operating kind of like radio waves, within a very small bandwidth of information and reality. So the times that we're now living in, we're going to go from limited reality based on limited consciousness. Some of us are going to go into full spectrum reality, but everyone's going to go up in increments. Everyone, except the star seeds in the 144,000. But the whole point is we're going to go from that small bandwidth to greater levels of reality. And that's exciting because, the veil is lifting.
Is that why it's been easy to mind control and manipulate us, because we've been operating on such a small frequency?
Yeah, because everybody's on the what is known as the beta wavelength, which is the level of consciousness where everybody could be programmed, hypnotized, with subliminal messages from what they're watching on TV. If they hear a pop star song, there's always a way to like reach their subconscious mind by being in that very low state of a frequency or consciousness frequency. So that is a very primitive level of consciousness. It is when we go beyond that into the alpha, beta and delta waves, where we can no longer be programmable. At that point we are, I guess that's the goal of everyone. It's to reach those levels of consciousness. And then when we do, we also reach those levels of reality.
So on the interview you had yesterday, you had talked about how at one point you were approached to be part of the cabal's antics that they did, and you felt something that you knew right away that the person approaching you was not of good energy. So when these people make these deals or sell their soul or whatever, are they fully, I don't think they're fully aware of what they're actually getting involved in, are they? Do you care to expand on what some of the musicians and people in Hollywood signed up for, and then what they actually signed up for? I don't know if they're really fully aware of what they're going to be doing.
I think in some cases they're fully aware. They do it for the fame and money, and that's why they become compromised. In other cases, they become overshadowed and overpowered mentally. In other words, they're under a hypnotic state of conscious awareness, where they're not aware of themselves. They're actually just and take our orders. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that. No.
When you were approached, was it pretty straightforward? It was just an individual?
Yeah, it was just an individual. Yeah, he came in wearing all black, long black trench coat. He kind of reminded me of that villain in Harry Potter, with the really cool face. Yeah.
I had an entity come through, the most beautiful girl, actually. We were in a hot tub and party at the mansion, and it was the strangest thing. Her eyes became completely black. Her voice changed. It was deep. It was weird. And she's laughing and looking at me, and I'm just in awe at this experience. I mean, there's people all around, but nobody can hear it. And I said, "Who are you?" And the voice said, "You know who I am," and just started laughing. And it felt like a recruitment, and I rejected it very strongly. And then boom, it was gone. This was the second time, but it was. I mean, that's another story. You don't just say in polite company.
Is he talking to you telepathically?
No.
Oh, okay.
Her mouth was moving.
Oh, I see.
That voice was coming out. Nobody else could. I mean, like I said, there were people around, but nobody could hear it. We're in a hot tub. Gorgeous girl. I mean, it was very easy to end up in this situation, and then, then I hear this voice, and there was a familiarity about it, but it wasn't until upon reflection that it was like, wow, I have a relationship with this thing.
Right.
This isn't the first time I've encountered this thing, and it's having fun with me.
Well, I'm glad you declined, because there's a lot of inorganics that are humanoid robotics, androids, that are already walking among us, and those are the extraterrestrial AI sentients. Those are not the ones that we made. Those are the ones that are like typically millions of years ahead of us. They're so advanced. So they come into systems, they know how to cloak themselves as human beings, but underneath it, it's all wires and technology.
Yeah, you could just see her being taken over. It was the wildest, you see that here and there in movies and whatnot, but to see it right in your face was a hell of an experience, that's for sure.
So I've heard something about during the solar flash that's coming, that's going to, in a way, cleanse our planet, and maybe even the entire universe, which I don't know enough about. But what will that look like, if, as far as your understanding of it?
It's going to be a total reboot. That's going to take place across the cosmos, where everything that is evil or negative vibratory is going to be transmuted. The only thing that's going to allow to exist are those that are operating within the new frequency, which is based on love, compassion, understanding, joy, peace, stuff like that. So it's
funny, when they told me I had work to do, I said, well, what work? And they said, find the frequency and then share the frequency. And that's all they ever said. And I've heard that over and over and over again. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, that frequency is the known as the frequency of compassion, which is unconditional love. So it's the frequency that opens up your high heart chakra.
Unconditional love, yeah.
Unconditional love. Once you have that frequency, if enough of us have that frequency, we could literally just have the solar flash like that. But it's a two-way process. It's like the sun, as a living entity, is waiting for enough of us to open up the high heart chakra. And then once we all do, then the Christ consciousness grid is going to be ready to open. And when it does, that's when our powers come into play. So they work both ways. It's activating the Christ mind and receiving the superpowers at the same time.
Yeah.
There was one other question she had, which ties into this, I think. She said, what will happen to many behind bars in all the prisons, both the dangerous ones and the unfairly incarcerated or minor offenders? I have a lot of concern for this population and rarely hear anyone mention them. So that was the question this girl that her name's Christy K had asked on Nicholas's.
Okay, so if they're in jail or in prison because they did something wrong, like most people in prison, but while they're in prison, if they have a change of heart and they have a shift in consciousness where they begin to wake up, because a lot of people wake up in prison, not a lot, a few, but due to this collective awakening, it's affecting people. They're going to have the choice, so when the solar flash takes place, they're going to be able to choose if whether or not they want to go into the new heaven on earth or not. So that's going to be an individual choice based on their change of consciousness and perception about life, and of course, change of heart as well.
So would that be applicable? I mean, that sounds like it's applicable to anybody that's in So what are if someone's done certain things, and I've heard this over and over, which a lot of people may not understand, that human trafficking is 3 times as profitable as the NFL. There's a movie that's coming out called The Sound of Freedom, which we've been anticipating coming out for over a couple years now. We're not sure when it's coming out, but what are are there certain people where they're just not there's maybe no hope for them, but other people, if they're willing to look at what they've done and take on either Christ or going the route into helping humanity, what is there something that is a divider in that? Like, some people just are not going to make it based on the evil acts that they've done.
Well, if they haven't repented, if they're not sorry for what they did, then no, they're not going to make the positive timeline. But it doesn't mean that they're never going to make the ascension, because some of these people are going to be reincarnated in another third dimensional like Earth that's still going through a dark period, in order to relearn the same lessons, to hopefully have an opportunity to ascend when that world goes through its own ascension. So the way I see it is that Prime Creator Source wants no soul left behind, including those that are going to the transhumanist agenda. At the end of the millennium, we will have the ability to liberate those. And then, of course, the only thing that we will be compelled to destroy would be the sentient AI, because that thing has no soul.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked when they told me about how many people were without souls, that there was so many people. And then I started asking specific questions, and I was kind of shocked, because these are people I interact with on a regular basis, and they're seemingly unaware of that fact. But yet, on some level, it totally makes sense. What do you have to say as far as all the folks that are, the soulless folks, I suppose?
I would say it's almost 1/3 of the population.
It's pretty profound.
Really? That's a lot of people.
Yeah, only a little less than 5 billion have souls. The rest are NPCs, alien androids that are working with the Animus, which is the AI we've been fighting on a cosmic level, that are also posing as political leaders, right? That's why they have no spark in their eyes. Some people call them clones, but some of them are actually robotic.
But what's driving them? We know the Dracos, they
What's
dine
driving
on
them is-
loosh or whatever, but what propels these soulless folks is they're I have a good friend that is soulless. And I'm thinking, well, she's not out doing anything nefarious. She just has no idea.
So he asked what drives them. I have it on mute sometimes when we hear some pretty loud noises. So
you mentioned animus. It's kind of funny, because I was thinking, what is the animus behind? Because for us, we're driven by that divine, force. That's the spark. And
right. They feed off of humans as battery resources. That's where they get their energy input from.
Even those that aren't aware of it?
No, because get this. Each cell in our body generates the potential of 1.14 billion volts of electrical power, input and output power. In other words, when you combine that with, or times that with, trillions of cells, that's like a lot of electrical input. And so they have the technology to harness that. If we were to harness our own electrical input in our bodies, our electrical field, we would be like able to do things that others would consider supernatural. Stop time, bend matter at will, defy gravity, generate electromagnetism through our bodies like Zeus did, and Thor. We would be doing all that.
Have you had a few of those experiences?
Once I did have an experience where I felt like I was actually meditating at a restaurant, Mimi's, and I felt like a current of light, like my body just stopped being human and I became something else. And I just felt this stream of energy, like I was a current of energy, like going, like I didn't feel myself as a person. I was just a current of energy that had no limit. And yeah, it was a weird experience, but I was able to snap out of it, because it felt really good. I don't know if you guys have ever felt like a current of energy, but it is the best feeling in the world. But I came back to being human, or being back to being the solid physical person.
Yeah, I had this. I went with my sister to this event where this woman did like this aura cleansing, and at the time I didn't pay a lot of attention about this stuff, but I thought, yeah, sure, why not? And afterwards, it provoked this powerful experience. I was just taking a shower. I had a date later, taking a shower, and all of a sudden I found myself just sobbing uncontrollably. But it was just tears of joy. But I just couldn't even control it. It was so intense. Pulled myself together, went on the date. I'm at the bar. I'm talking to her, and I noticed that the fact that I was really listening to her allowed her to really flow. I mean, she was just really flowing. And then all of a sudden I opened it up a little bit too much, I think, because then I could hear the thoughts of the people at the table behind her. And then I could feel the thoughts of the people at the bar. And then pretty soon I was hearing everyone all at once. But somehow when this kind of thing happens, everything slows down and it all makes sense in that moment. And boy, it came with a high. I felt like a mountain. I mean, it was just this incredible soaring feeling, and it came and it went. And, I've had that a couple of times in my life. One time I was in New Orleans and, we hadn't had a drop to drink, there was no hallucinogens or anything for anyone who wondered, because it's
Absinthe.
yeah. But, I'm walking through Pirates Alley and all of a sudden the world around me completely changed. And I stood there for a moment and I saw everything that had ever taken place throughout time right there. I saw everything from like prehistoric looking times and the swamp and nothing developed, and then horses and buggies and all of this stuff all at once. And I think for my friends that were with me that were kind of wondering, well, why did you stop? It really was just a minute. For me, it was, a significant experience. And I saw it all. Again, the high, like everything was tingling. There was so much space in between every molecule, and I just, what a heck of a way to start the evening, But wow, I mean, if you probably stumbled into something similar to that.
That is when you cease to be a part of it, and you become one with the wave of infinite potentialities. You get to see everything, from the beginning to the end, and everything. Yeah, it is the best feeling. That's probably going to be what most are going to be feeling when the ascension takes place.
I think so.
And there is no sense of time when you're in that state. There is no time.
Yeah.
It's almost like everything just slows down and it's just there in one fraction. You can see it all.
But try describing that to anyone.
Yeah.
Well, they would have to have a pretty good understanding of quantum physics in order to even understand and digest.
Yeah, it's a heck of a feeling, that's for sure.
Are there any current updates at all that you feel compelled to share? And then then we can also, say anything that's really positive for people that are, new to understanding this, that what is the world that's coming that we're, stepping into? Because some people have no idea that what's coming.
It is the most beautiful, harmonious civilization that will ever exist here on the earth, even surpassing Atlantis and Lemuria, even surpassing them in glory. If people only knew what's about to take place here, I mean, this earth, being the ultimate living library that has ever been in design by the cosmos, is about to take her rightful place in the multiverse as the living headquarters world, in which a new race, a new council of guardians, will be overseeing many galaxies and many worlds from this earth, and when she becomes a fifth dimensional reality. So it's going to be beautiful.
That's amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I got a couple of questions. One, you might have a greater understanding than I. When I look at deep state figures, very influential folks that are all clearly in kind of Babylonian traditions, the oldest religion, I think a lot of them refer to, feels a lot like the Lima, Aleister Crowley's religion that was birthed from his girlfriend Rose in the King's Chamber of Cheops way back in the day. And boy, talk about influence. That guy's the most influential person,
Well, he was getting information from the Greys, the Nabu, the Zetas, and
his
as well
lamb that he spoke to. I think it gave him a lot of that information. But
exactly, that's how he was able to get a lot of his information.
Ancient Egypt.
Say that again.
There was a lot of ancient Egyptian tradition in the book of the law that he wrote, and and that was the whole "do as thou wilt." Was born out of that volume. But I'm just wondering, they claim to, to have affection for or worship Moloch, Baal, which is effectively Saturn. Both of those entities are kind of the same.
And Marduk. Marduk, the son of Enki, is also Belial.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just makes me wonder, is it correct to call it Thelema, or is it well beyond Thelema? They're clearly tapped in, and we know it works. It just works at great sacrifice. And I don't think they have that part figured out.
Right. I think it's beyond Kalima.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it demands sacrifice, which is, to me, like, as generators with souls, we don't
that's what
rely
we
on external energy. But if you do, then it would make sense that, human sacrifice and these types of just horrific traditions are just.
Well, that's how the elites were able to appease their masters, their off-world masters, is through the sacrifice, because that's how their masters would feed.
Well, they're still doing it, aren't they?
Not anymore.
No? Good news.
No, oh no, not within the last few years. In fact, Marduk was recently arrested. He was forced to step down. He was actually the one in charge of the Dark Fleet and the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. Oh yeah, these breakaway groups that are associated with the Dark elites, controlled by Marduk himself. Yeah,
Wow.
but he was recently asked to step down by the Federation and the Alliance. The super soldiers of the Alliance made this happen. Yeah, the super soldiers are the heroes of the multiverse, and they're here on the Earth. A lot of star seeds were used as super soldiers.
Now you participate. You have memories of being a participant in the Super Soldier program.
Very vague. I had dreams and glimpses here and there, and I have an implant on my right. What is that called? Right above my foot, my right ankle, and then so I've had that like missing time about three different times when I was like from 15 to 18, and that's around the years that they take you. Or it's I ended up in the street walking, forgetting how did I get there? Am I coming from school or house? Like, whoa, it was weird. Like, what am I doing here? What did I do before getting here? Like, that's missing time. I've had that happen 3 times.
They told me I have 3 implants, but they said not to worry. They're all good. Don't worry.
That's what they told me too. Yeah, because I was part of an off-world group that was a little bit more advanced than Solar Warden. See, Solar Warden worked in, had, how do I say, there was different divisions, right? You had those that protected the solar system, those that protected not only our solar system, but the entire galaxy. And then you had those that patrolled and protected other galaxies. And other universes. So I was part of that.
Yeah, when I explore things like, I'm a very, very peaceful person, always have been my whole life, not violent, but I'm very comfortable with violence, in a lot of ways. I was wondering where that came from. Like maybe that was part of a super soldier kind of program or something. They said, no, I wasn't a super soldier, but yes, I was at war. And there was some laughter there. So maybe I'm still at war. I don't know, but it was primarily focused on the Draco. And
Yeah.
you have, like, I've always, since I was a kid, I haven't had very many acute fears, but snakes are one of them, and always have been. And, almost like an irrational fear. It just really gets me. And I started to get some flashes of some combat with some much, much bigger snakes, so to speak.
Oh yeah, as a kid, I was afraid of the dark. I knew that once they closed the door and there was darkness in the room, I felt like a portal would open.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any of that? Do you get flashes of combat? Do you get any of?
I do. I get flashes of fighting these hideous looking ETs. Some of them are like 15, 20 feet tall. Some of them look like big gaseous blobs. And then, of course, a lot of the black spiders. The black spiders have definitely been used by the AI to just suck the life energy out of planets. They come in and they literally within days, they suck up the life force of an entire planet. So yeah, we had to take down tons of those.
Yeah,
And
I think
just also
been
remember,
killed by a lot of those things.
Say that
Not the
again.
spiders, but the Dracos.
I also remember going into preliminary training for that, going to Mars, a few colonies there to kind of like figure out where we were going to go in the universe or in other universes. I also remember going to a huge station in Jupiter several times, so I have those little memories. And they're being addressed by the Earth delegates, and then the different Federation forces that were there. Yeah, so it's interesting. I'd love to get my full memories of that.
No, me too. That's one of the most exciting parts of all this is, getting my skills back, getting those memories back. But they told me that we would be able to manipulate the energy around us in our field in a way that's, it's just bulletproof. It's its own climate. It can go underwater. It's just being able to just hold your field. I don't know. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yep, it does.
Yeah. Well, good, because I haven't talked to anyone else that said yes to that question. So that's exciting. This is a great interview. I'm loving it.
Well, and I know that in yesterday's interview, you said that the weather in the 5D is going to be a lot more tropical and more like paradise. And then for a little bit, I was thinking, well, what about us that go snowboarding? And they're going to be able to, when they want to, have snow in the mountains still, right?
Yes, because we're going to be a population interplanetary type 1 system capable of manipulating weather, controlling our environment, the elements by will.
Wow. That sounds pretty cool. Well, I know we're almost at an hour. I'm sure we'd love to have you back at some point. We'll arrange that later. Is there anything you want to say in closing? We're so appreciative to have you on our show, and this has been an amazing experience, and it's been really cool to watch someone back up what Scott's talked about.
I have never spoken publicly about any of this, just so you know, but yeah, I would love to do this again for sure.
I would love to assure you, Joe, Scott's not crazy.
He's
just
so
been through a lot,
Yeah, that's awesome.
But one final thing is, for those that haven't read my book, Our Cosmic Origin, it became bestseller, and there's a reason for that. We're living in a time where disclosure is coming to us in increments and portions. That book is the disclosure. It's the next level disclosure. It puts everything into perspective, tying in the true history of the Earth, how that connects to the true history of our galaxy, the cosmic organization of things, Earth's relationship to the cosmos, the different levels of reality. It's just a book that, to me, it's an attempt to explain everything. But again, everybody could, see it differently. But from what I heard is that it is definitely a book that shatters the matrix. So,
and where exactly do folks find that book?
On Amazon. They could order it on Amazon, or Our Cosmic Origin by Ismael Perez. And I also teach online courses that really give people the proper galactic information that they need in order to see if they could align with any of it. I go really in depth with like deep knowledge in these courses. I also teach people meditative techniques that will also help them align with their multidimensionality and their galactic self.
And where would they find your classes?
The link is okay for those who don't have Instagram. What I could do is give you a link, and then you can put it on the description.
Yeah, we'll put it on the description.
My Instagram, which is under Project Restoration Zion 1, and that's my only Instagram. All the other ones are fake accounts. I also have the link in my bio.
Awesome. Anything else, Scott, you want to say in closing?
Oh, so much, but I don't think we want to go another hour
for a future day.
I'd love to do this again, though. Hopefully in a couple of weeks or whenever you have available time. I know you're a pretty busy guy these days.
Right on.
We could probably do it in like 3 to 4 weeks.
Awesome.
I like it.
Sweet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ismael. We appreciate you. We'll put all the links below, and look forward to the next time we chat.
Thank you, Joe and Scott. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thanks so much.
You're welcome, guys. Have a good evening.
Appreciate it. You too.
Bye.